Hi everyone. Sorry that I haven't made a video in a really long time. I honestly have not felt like it. I don't know why. Could just be things that are going on right now. But I'm gonna make one today, so hopefully it'll make it up to you. If not, then you can feel free to hate on me. Um, but this video I wanted to do about the herbs that I have. I guess I can make a basics, like, I guess I'll make this video a basic herb video. Hopefully it won't be too long of a video, but if it is, I apologize. I'll try to make it quick. So, with that said, let's just start off with the little bottles that I have of my herbs. So this is rosemary. Rosemary, I've used it for, or in, love related things, spells, bags, sachets, things of the like, and also for protection. I have a lot of protection related-ish herbs, because at the towers where I used to live up in Denver is haunted at the ass, so yeah, I got a lot of requests for those kind of spell bags. I also have my own rosemary. This I bought from Herbs and Arts in Denver. Great store, check it out if you're in the area. But this rosemary, you can see it's like a different color, kind of. It's still dried, but it's a different color. This I got at the store and dried myself. Smells really, really amazing. But, yeah. That's rosemary. Or my rosemary. It smells really good. I love rosemary. Rosemary is very nice. Next I have High John Conqueror root. Now this smells really good. I have only ever used, because in a couple of her videos, Charming Pixie Flora, look her up, she's great. She has used, or this is where I got this information, she's used these in spell bags or sachets or whatever, to heighten the power in the other herbs that are also in the bag, so it makes them stronger. I don't know of any other use for this because I haven't really honestly looked it up, so if you want to look it up then go right ahead, but that's just what I use it for because of what I heard from Charming Pixie Flora, and she's a very knowledgeable witch. So definitely give her channel a look up. That's her channel name, by the way, is Charming Pixie Flora. So on to the next one. Here's basil. Basil I know you can get at the store, which is where I got it, because it's most commonly used in cooking. But I love the smell of basil. I haven't really used it in anything yet, so I can't really tell you too much about it, but I love basil so much. Even as a kid, like, I just always loved the smell of it. Like, every time, most of the time when I would ever smell it or see it in a dish that my mother made, it would always be beef stew or like a roast, and it just smells really good. It's freaking amazing. But like I said, I can't tell you too much about it because I haven't really ever used it in a spell or anything. So moving along, next we have lavender. I love lavender. It smells wonderful, and I love purple, so of course, you know, it being purple, gotta love purple. Of course, there's nothing but purple all over my persona or whatever. Anyway, moving on. Lavender I've mostly used in love and protection spells. A lot of protection because also lavender in a sachet or a spell bag or as an essential oil, the bag under your pillow or the essential oil kind of dotted around your pillow where you sleep, can ward off, it wards off a lot of negative energies, which is why it's good for protection. But with that said, it's good at keeping bad dreams and nightmares possibly night terrors. I've never really had to use it for that. I don't have night terrors as much anymore. And when I do, it's random, so I have no idea when it'll happen. But this is good if you have nightmares and you want to get rid of them, or just want to switch those into better dreams. Definitely make this into a sachet or a spell bag. Stick it under your pillow, or like I said, with the essential oil, just kind of spread it around, dot it on your pillow. Not too much, because obviously essential oils, you know, especially lavender, smells really strong. But, smells good. Yeah, so, lavender. Next is mint. I freaking love mint. If roses weren't my favorite plant ever, mint would definitely be the next. It would definitely be the top herb of my favorites, because I love mint. I've always loved mint because of the way it smells, tastes. It's freaking delicious. But also mint helped me get through a lot of stomach troubles that I used to have. Couldn't really ever figure out why. The only the only diagnosis that I got, and not just from myself, but also from the doctors. I was so stressed out and depressed at one point in my life, not too long ago. Last year, actually, is when it ended. But prior to that, it had gone on for 2.5 years straight. Just nothing but nausea and stomach aches, and like, I never once threw up, but I mean, that sounds gross, but I never once did, because I couldn't. Like, it was there, but I just couldn't get anything, like, I couldn't get myself to actually do it. And so many nights spent on the bathroom floor, just like writhing in pain, crying my eyes out, because it was just so unbearable. But I started using mint in my tea, and also even just gum, like mint gum. Mint helps settle your stomach. So thank God for this, because if it wasn't for this, I probably wouldn't have made it through all that. But other than stomach troubles and settling things, mint can be a good money attractor. I don't know what the word is. It attracts money. I'll just say that. So if you have money troubles, or would like to be able to get a little extra cash in your pocket, you should make a little sachet of this and carry it around in your purse, your bag, in your pocket, doesn't matter where, just, carry it around, and money will come to you. So the next one is cloves. I haven't really used these in much of anything except for something to make the house smell better. But cloves smell really nice. They're really strong. Don't ever eat one of these, because that would be very terrible. What I meant by making is something that to help your house smell better. I'm sure a lot of people know this. There's probably a lot of schools who have made one of these in the past, but I have always loved doing this. You take an orange or a tangerine, so, some of the orangey fruitness sense, and you take a bunch of whole cloves and you stick them in the orange, nectarine, whatever you're using. Not too many. You don't fill up the whole thing. I mean, you just kind of poke them around in there, and then you take I believe it's nutmeg or cinnamon, and or both, and you sprinkle it on after you've stuck all the cloves in your orange, and you wrap that up in some cloth where it won't seep through, or get through, or whatever. Could be many layers of cloth, or it could just be one really thick piece of cloth, and then you tie it, and you can either set that somewhere in your house, or you can pin it. Stick something through it so that you can hang it, like in a window or in a door or something like that. And it'll probably smell good for quite a while. When it stops smelling good, it's probably, bad, so throw it out. But it's simple, cheap, home freshener thing. It smells good. So there you go. Next is sage. I love sage. I always have. I've used sage a couple times. I don't remember what for, but I do like it in cooking because it's unique, and you don't really see it a lot in too many recipes, but it smells really good. I love the way it looks and the texture of the leaves. It's just like a little peach fuzz, and it's so nice. But sage is, I actually have a sage smudging stick over there. It's used a lot for cleansing things, as far as if you wrap up the leaves and the stem, and make it into a little smudging bundle. You can light tip, and if you know how to cleanse things or want to cleanse things, then you normally you would use sage. It gets rid of the negative energies / spirits that could be lingering around in your humble abode or somewhere that you're trying to cleanse. It also can be used to cleanse like yourself and other people, so it's a good cleanser. It's pretty pure. Well, I wouldn't say pure because I could be completely bashed on that, but I would say it's pure in my eyes because you can cleanse things with it. So there you go. Next up is saffron. Now it's in a bag, so excuse me while I have to take this out. Saffron is really expensive. It goes from like literally $18 to $21 at the store, like a King Soopers or something like that. Why? Because it is extremely, well, not extremely, but it's pretty rare. It comes from a flower, which only grows in one area of the world, I think. Either Mexico or Spain. I can't really remember, one of the two. Maybe it's not even one of those. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's just what I remember from reading off the label, but I'm dyslexic, so could have been anywhere. But they are really tiny little threads. They have a slight red color. They come from a flower, like I said, but the flower only gives off 1 to 3-ish, roughly, of these strands. And this is all you get in this little bag. It's about as big as my finger. But that's all you get. I haven't used a lot of it because you don't need a lot of it. Saffron is it's a pretty strong herb, so you don't need to use it a whole lot because it's pretty strong. It's most commonly used, and I've only ever used it for love spells. But it's also something you can cook with. I have a couple recipes for like breads and whatnot with saffron. I've never tried them, but that's just an example of what you could use it for. And then we have my little powders. This is ginger. Ginger smells pretty good, actually. I like ginger a lot. I especially love it in cooking. I haven't used it in any spells or anything like that. In fact, I haven't used a lot of these powders in too many spells, or at least 2 of these powders. The other powder I haven't used is cayenne pepper, which is really, it's like a spice. It's a spicy spice, like hot spice. So I can't really tell you much about nutmeg or cayenne pepper. But the one thing I do know and have never tried, so you might want to look this up, just to reassure yourself or to reassure my words. I have heard and read that if you gargle cayenne pepper in water, it can get rid of a very bad sore throat very quickly. I've never tried it. Whenever I wanted to try it, I didn't have cayenne pepper in the house, but now that I do, I haven't had a use for it yet because I haven't had that bad of a sore throat. Imagine that. But yeah, that's what I've heard. Make sure that you look that up before you try it because, I mean, cayenne pepper is pretty spicy. And also, you don't take my word for anything. You could be allergic to this. I freaking don't know. I don't know you. So make sure that you're not allergic to anything before you try it. That's the one big rule. Like the number one big bold letters. Literally, you light them on fire and everybody has to see them. You have to make sure that you talk to your doctor before taking any herb that you're not sure that you can ingest. Especially something like sage. Like, it's not super common in foods, but you can cook with it. But even so, like, you never know. You could be allergic to sage. You could be allergic to mint. You could be allergic to basil. I don't know why you would be allergic to basil, but you could be. So make sure that you know for a fact or check in with your doctor before you try any herb, because it could be either toxic to you and everyone. It could be baneful. That's what we call toxic herbs, baneful. It could be a baneful herb, like nightshade. This is what nightshade looks like. It's poisonous as fuck. Don't eat it, ever. Bad. And you need to make sure that you're not allergic either, because somebody else may be able to eat it or ingest it or, touch it without getting reactions, but you never know what you could be allergic to. So make sure you get that checked out. Second to last that I have, well, in the little jars, this is a nutmeg. I like nutmeg. It smells really pretty, and I like using it in love spells. It goes really well with one of my, not really a potion, but I guess I call it that because it makes me feel fancy. But yeah, I like it. I like the way it smells. I like the way everything smells. I like the smells of the herbs that I have. Let me just say that. That's why I notice I've been smelling each one that I ever open. I'm a big, that can be taken so many different ways, but I like smells. So laugh now if you want to, but that's just me. But it's also another cooking herb. But too much of it can be bad for you, so be careful, and always measure out what you're using when you use nutmeg in recipes. So always follow the recipe with nutmeg. You don't want to take too much of it in there, because it can be pretty strong and it can, be distasteful. So the last one I have is cinnamon. I love cinnamon. It smells great. I just love everything about it. You put it on toast with sugar and it tastes amazing. It's really good for love spells. I mean, cinnamon is just the best. There I go again. That's all I have ever used it for, and that's probably a lot of what I'll ever use it for unless I find another use for it. But because there's so many different herbs that have the same properties, like this and this and this can all be used in love spells, sachets, and whatnot. But at the same time, lavender can be used for protection and warding evil things off. So you have so many options on what you can use for anything. Like, you don't even have to use, like, cinnamon for a love spell. You can use just saffron and some lavender, or saffron and rosemary, or saffron and something else that I don't have. So the thing with herbs is everything is so open. Like, you don't even, like, there's so many other there's also so many other herbs that you can use to attract money, besides mint. Mint is like the most known, the most common. I realize I have a lot of common and highly known herbs, but there are some herbs that don't get a lot of spotlight that you can use that are just as potent as anything else that I have named here. With that said, the last couple that I don't have in small jars, because I don't have that many small jars. And all of the small jars that I have, I've already seen. Like, those are all that I have. I filled them all up. But the other 2 or 3 that I have, this is mugwort. This and this, which is cedar. Sorry, get it into the camera. I've used for protection spells because I know that cedar is pretty strong as far as protection spells go. Sorry, I had a mind derp right there for a moment. But yeah, so all of those. And then the last one that I have is, I have 2 of these, but I'm not going to bother bringing it out. These are rose petals. Crushed at the bottom, but then there's a couple whole ones at the top. With rose petals, you can eat them, you can ingest them, you can use them in recipes. I know that my Witch's Brew recipe has rose petals, or calls for rose petals. But the thing with rose petals and roses is, if you buy them at a store, like in a bouquet, which is what all of these came from, they are probably not good to ingest at all, because they're most likely sprayed with pesticides, keep bugs away, which can be toxic or make you sick. And then also they could have been specially grown, I like to say it that way, and they may have been exposed to chemicals to help them grow fuller, better, more colorful. Who knows what the fuck are on these things. So whenever you do buy rose petals and you plan on ingesting them, you need to make sure that you are buying them from somewhere, or you need to at least make sure that they have the label, or you need to ask whoever's selling them if they have if they are ingestible. And that person should know. If they don't know or are not sure, you shouldn't take the chance, because you don't want to get sick and worse, you don't want to die. Not that I'm saying it could go that far, but you never know, so be careful when you are buying your rose petals, because you want to be able to separate the non-ingestible from the ingestibles. So, with all of that done and over with, those are all of the herbs that I have. A couple things before I get off that you probably will want to know about growing your own herbs and harvesting them, and then also drying them. With growing them, you need to make sure, because there's no specific way for me to tell you how to grow your freaking herbs, because they should all have their own preferences. Like, lavender will definitely grow different than sage, which will also differently grow than mint. The two plants that I had in college were sage and mint, and both of them were similar but not exactly the same when I was growing them. Like, they didn't have the same needs, and neither did lavender. Like, I got a lavender plant not too long after both of my other plants died. My other plants died because of spider mites. Fucking little bastards, excuse me, but they're killer. Once you get spider mites, you'll never get rid of them. You'll just never get rid of them. But anyway, so you need to plant, if you're not going to keep them in a pot. Well, actually, you need to pot or plant them in the proper area, climate, whatever that suits that plant specifically. If you have to make a greenhouse to keep a specific plant, then do it. Because if you go out knowingly buying a plant that probably will require a greenhouse, or like maybe in your area specifically you will need a greenhouse for it, then you're just being an asshole, because you probably just killed that plant just because you wanted it. You need to make sure that you respect the plant, because it's not just a plant. Obviously, we should all know this by now. It's not just a plant. It's a living thing. Like, it needs water, it needs sunlight to live. If you don't give it that, it's gonna die. And you definitely need to respect its climate and proper growth instructions. Otherwise, it's gonna die. So make sure that you respect that plant's needs before your own. Because you can always just go to the store and buy this plant already, dried and everything for your magical needs, whatever. But growing a living plant takes a lot of care, and maybe not so much time, but I want to say it anyway. It takes time, especially if you're growing it from seed. It needs the proper care for that plant. I can't fathom enough how much it pisses me off when somebody goes out and buys a plant that they don't know anything about, and it dies, all because they were ignorant to what the plant needed. So, on to the next bit before I get too riled up. As far as harvesting anything that you need off of the plant, make sure that you are harvesting anything that you need. Like if it's the flowers, make sure you get them the day that they open up fully. And I suggest this because that's when they are the most potent. That's when most of the nutrients are in the flowers. And if you are if you're harvesting the leaves, and the flowers or the buds on that plant have bloomed, you should probably wait until after the flowers are done being bloomed and whatnot, because the nutrients go straight to the flowers when they are in bloom, and a lot of times when they're buds too. So if you want the stronger, more healthy leaf from that plant of its time, then you need to do it when the flowers aren't bloomed. Other than that, when you are when you are harvesting anything off of a plant, you need to take a very sharp pair of scissors. And what I've learned, when you're harvesting the leaves, you snip them at the very bottom of where the stem connects to that leaf. So that way it doesn't leave this extra little nub of dead plant on the plant, because it's not good for it. And also, when you are harvesting anything, you want to make sure that you only take like maybe a third of the plant at a time, or a fourth even, because if you take too much, if you take like half or more, the plant is most likely going to die because it doesn't have a lot of what it has been growing. So be respectful to the plant as far as harvesting, because it needs what it needs more than you need what it has, if that made sense. And last but not least, drying. Any typical plant, or as far as the leaves go, will generally take about 2, 3, maybe even 4 weeks to dry completely. And when you're drying these plants, you need to make sure that they are in a dark, generally cool place. It can't be too hot or warm or anything like that. Just generally cool area, and it has to be in the dark. That's it's just better that way. I'm just gonna leave it at that. It's just better that way. Now you can dry herbs quicker in the oven, but I've never done that because I think that I would probably burn the plants to a crisp. More so because most of the instructions that you get for drying herbs in the oven come from more the East Coast, and I live in Colorado where it's dry as hell. So it would definitely take, the temperatures of the oven are different than the same temperature in a humid climate. Don't ask me why. I don't even know why. I think it's just because of the dryness up here, and there's more humidness down there. Like, we're closer. And then there's also less air up here in the mountains. So if you want to look up the instructions, I know you can do it. So if you want to do it, go ahead. I don't know anything about it, so I can't tell you about it. Other than that, I think that's it. Just one more thing. I have to get up and get it. I have a book that I bought when I was kind of starting out with herbs, that I suggest to other people. It's literally like the only herb book that I have, but it's called Herb Magic for Beginners by Ellen Dugan. I like her as an author. I think she's, pretty awesome. But this book has a lot of just typical general knowledge. Anything that I've ever mentioned or said in this video is going to be in this book. Especially when it comes to, the proper care of your herbs and, harvesting and drying and whatnot. She goes through a lot of the terms that you can use. Like, here's a bunch of just random terms that is associated with, being an herbal witch. She'll also go over the associations with specific herbs and days of the week, the planets, and then also the moon phases. But once she gets into actually talking about the herbs and herbs and whatnot, see, here's rose up there, and then she has a lot of information about it. And then after she mentions that herb, she will also list a couple of spells and sachets and whatnot that you can use for that herb that she just mentioned. So here's Sweet Violet, the herb, and then she talks about it. And then right down here at the bottom of the next page is a sachet for desire with violet and lavender. So she just mentioned sweet violets on this page, and then she has a sachet that you can do with that herb. There's another herb, involved, but if you want general knowledge on, a good handful, maybe a couple handfuls of herbs, and then you also would like a few basic spells, sachets, and whatnot for that herb, I would highly recommend this book. because it's completely genius as far as anything that I've just mentioned in the last like 5 seconds. I don't want to repeat myself because I feel like I don't know what I just said. So, sorry this video was so long. I'm looking down at the timer and it's like over 30 minutes long. So thank you if you've survived with me this long. I had a lot of fun doing this video actually because I love herbs. They're one of my knacks in Wicca and witchcraft. I love them so much. I love everything that you can do with them. I love how, you know, how well I can work with them. May be different for you, but if you want to try it out, just, you know, go out and buy that book, buy a different book, buy any book. Just learn as much as you can because there's so much to learn about herbs and spices. It's just amazing. So with that all said, thank you so much for watching this long. I don't know when I'll make another video. I don't know what it'll be about, but if you have a suggestion, go ahead and let me know via comment or my inbox. But thank you for watching. Like, favorite, subscribe, do whatever you do, and I will see you in my next video.